Hey y'all, hey y'all, hey y'all. Today is Monday. It is May the 15th. It's an exciting day all around the world. I don't know why, but it might be. It might be for you. It's just Monday here. We have a lot to cover today. Of course, today is it is Monday. It is Momma War. What am I calling it? Mama's Monday morning war room. I'm liking it. I kind of varied it a little bit when I was originally doing it. I just put Mama Bear, and then I was like, it's getting overplayed. I feel like I'm more like a Mama Llama anyway, because I'm chill until you mess with my baby, and then you're screwed. Like Mama Bears can just for no reason, right? I always have a reason. I'm chill. Anyway, I hope you guys had a great Mother's Day. I made a comment on the show Friday, and I think it kind of made some people kind of scratch their head. There's this taboo thing that happens at Mother's Day where people try to pretend like everyone had a fantastic childhood and an amazing mothers and all of those kinds of things. And I wish that was the case. And of course, everyone has a battle, whether you know it or not, that they may or may not get to see. And so I made the statement about, even if you had a rough childhood, even if you may not have felt like your mother was always there, just remember that at some point she did make some choices for you. For example, she decided to carry you. She didn't abort you. She didn't leave you on, bloodied and abandoned somewhere. And if she did, then you found another mother who loved you very much. But at the end of the day, your original birthing parent or birthing person, I apologize if the left tries to now say, she did do something for you. She did give you life. And it may have been a very controversial thing for her at the time. There may have been things that you don't know, and you just never know, right? You can't peer into a crystal ball of what happened many years ago. But I saw this, and it reminded me yet again. It said, your mother did the best she could, and you were left wounded by her. She loved you, and she couldn't always be what you needed. She sacrificed, and at times you felt like a burden. May we honor her by humanizing her and learn from her life. And I thought, you know what, that was kind of like spot on with what I was trying to take as a point across from last week. Because we don't know. We talk about it all the time. There's struggles that people go through. There's things that people walk through that we just don't know about. We just don't know what happened. And then there's a lot of people who don't even have a mother any longer. Maybe they didn't grow up with a mother. Maybe she passed away. There's all sorts of things that people try to take advantage of. And when I was getting ready for the show, this one I had already prepared to say something about mothers and Mother's Day. I want to talk to you guys about my Mother's Day because it was a fun day. And it was an unplanned chaos day, which is, I'll explain in a minute. But, there was an article. Let me see if I can pull this up really quick. There was an article in the news this morning about a school or a school district. I think it was just a school in Tennessee who's the librarian had planned a Mother's Day event specifically for children who did not have a mother. Now, Moms for Liberty, which a lot of people are a part of, and to each their own. I know some of the organizers of the national group, and so I'm not a part of it, but I do know they do a lot of good work. They came back and they bullied about it, or they complained about it, and I don't know the circumstances. I don't know all the ins and outs. I only know what's in this one article, but it said that it was not meant to be for. It was going to try and sexualize Mother's Day, and it was going to try and make it about families who have transgender or two dads and all that kind of stuff, so that everyone can be included on Mother's Day. And I have pros and cons. Like, I agree. Like, look, if you have two dads, then you have two dads, and you get to celebrate Father's Day for two people, right? That you can't replace that. But in the same breath, I have a really hard time with not allowing a celebration of sorts to happen anyway, because there are a lot of other women who step up who are not a mom, right? Sometimes it's an aunt, or sometimes it's a neighbor, or sometimes it's a fill in the blank, right? And that's not your mom or a mom, but they were very motherly towards you. And so the librarian said that was what the jest was for. But the Moms for Liberty said, well, that's not the name. That's not necessarily the books that were going to be being read. Allegedly, one of them was about a transgender family or something like that. And then another one was just about a girl who didn't have a mom. And so I think the one about the girl who didn't have a mom, I think that one could be, it could go either way. And unfortunately, in today's society, we don't have a good thermometer on this stuff anymore, right? When I was growing up, I used to have a girlfriend of mine. She was from middle school all the way through high school. Her mom had left a long time ago and left her with her dad. And so my mom kind of stepped up and filled in the blank, filled in where she could, and was a mom to this girl who had a mother, but the mother, was not a part of her life and had not been for about a decade. So, you see those kinds of instances and you see these kinds of opportunities and things like that. And because of the perverseness of the left, you can't, it now gets lost in that shuffle or in that translation. And speaking of being lost, what the heck are you doing with your life today, Walter West?
Just getting some good things done on the right side of town before I got to head off to the left coast over there. And got some good work going on this week. I'm going to be heading up to Plainview ISD to support a 6-year-old child who's being bullied and by Republican officials, by school board officials, things like that.
Yeah. And I don't know if you were hearing what I was saying before I brought you on, but there's so much that is getting lost in translation because of the name for the sake of being politically correct, and it sucks because so many people are getting lost in the shuffle, including innocent bystanders, right? Like I was just talking about girls or kids who may not have a mom, who are now getting lumped into if you don't have a mom, then it's probably because of transgenderism or fill in the blank, instead of being poured into like they should be. And then I wonder if the same thing is now these are not arguments that we had a couple of years ago, right? But now I'm wondering, is the same thing going to happen for Father's Day? Oh, you don't have a father? Well, it's probably because he's a deadbeat. It could not possibly be because he may have died or something along those lines, because that's the only... if you don't have a mom, it's because transgenderism. And if you don't have a dad, well, it's probably because he's a deadbeat. There could never be a cancer, or it could never be anything that is a normal cause, right? And now there's a lot of kids who are getting left out in the middle because the left and the right are too busy fighting over something that should not even be being discussed in proper conversations, especially with children involved. What say you, Walter?
You're exactly right. I don't know. It's people are too afraid to speak up. The left is actually successfully winning this war because the right is losing their balls. I go back on. Did you see the Mark Driscoll reel that I sent you yesterday?
Yes, I did. You put it on our page, I believe.
Yeah, that actually would be a great
let me pull that up right now.
Specifically, what's going on? It's a total sign of the times that we're sitting in right now. And that guy right there is supposed to be some egotistical maniac, but he's not sitting there with his wife up on the stage pounding the thunder like old Joel Osteen down in Houston, saying, God loves you and things are just happy, just enjoy things. People walk into church every single day and they have a problem. And smiling about it's not going to help. Getting actual prayer, getting actual conversation, getting actual content. That's what's going to help when people stand up for others. And that's not what they're doing. They decided to shy away from things.
It's only a couple. Go ahead.
Then you have others that come in and they just want to steal the whole entire show. They want, hey, you know what? Drop it into my Cash App. I'm not meaning to sound like you on what we have on the program here. We obviously have programming fees we got to pay, different things with the network and whatnot. But, these people are constantly saying, hey, this is what we're solving. This is what they're doing. And they physically never were boots on the ground in half those places. And if they were, it was for a small time frame. The fact of the matter is, look at what is happening up there in Plainview. And, like I said, it was just one of those things where I happen to be able to shed some light on a situation legally because I understand the law and I understand the Texas code, and their own sheriff, their own district attorney is up there using things like, oh, consensual sex with 6-year-olds. I would have, that had that been my 6-year-old, had that been my own 6-year-old that would have done something like that to somebody else, I would have, I'd have lost my mind. We would have figured out what the hell was going on. What are the brothers would have groomed him into doing something like that? Those kind of things.
Absolutely.
The bottom line is Plainview has a bunch of pedophiles and they don't want to admit it. And now it's out in the open and they don't know what to do with it.
So
You've heard the backstory from those moms that have called you and they've said, hey, so this is actually what's happening. So they've reached out, they've contacted. Now it's time to act.
One of the moms that I've been in contact with quite a bit, she texted me Friday night and she said, guess what? 43 positions are now available at our school district. Did you know that 43 teachers have now resigned? And I said, holy smokes, are you serious? And she says, yes. And she said, now I'm not sure if it's from the same school, but Plainview district is not very big, and people are quite the buzz about this. So I'm excited to be able to dig more into that and see where that meat and potatoes is. But Walter, I ran into one of my best friends in Laredo, funny enough, in Target. I know, go ahead and say it. In Target the other day, and she said, I asked her if she had heard about it, and she goes, Plainview, and I started to say, so well, I said these 2 little 6-year-olds and a blah 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 in a school iPad, and she goes, dude. She goes, because she teaches at a middle school, and she's like, we are completely just dumbfounded by this down here. She said, it's not super well known, but at least in my middle school, like we're talking about it and we're going, she goes, I can't imagine. She said, like, we've got problems in our middle schools and in our elementary schools here in Laredo. I'm not going to pretend like we don't. She said, but the fact that the entire administration, she said, we've got good teachers here. We've got good principals. She said, we've got a fantastic principal here. She's like, and he was very quick to be like, that would never fly at our school, just so that we're clear at this. People would be in prison.
Well, and that's still, I'm not going to quit on what I stated there. This went all the way up to the FBI, FBI looking at it and saying, oh yeah, there's child porn on an iPad, but it's consensual. And then CPS comes in and says, well, we sent a big burly guy in there to talk to the girl, and he pulled her out of class. He walked her into a private area. Hopefully it had the door open and the door wasn't closed. But but probably not. Some big burly guy asked her a bunch of questions, and I understand you've got to catch them on the fly to where the parents can't coach them and things like that. But whenever the story is the liberal, CPS, bottom line, CPS has screwed the pooch all the way through. Go back to 30 years ago, the Branch Davidian standoff, whenever CPS workers were sitting there watching the building burn. Children were watching their parents die on TV whenever they could have, the CPS workers could have turned it off. And then they turned to the kids and said, your parents must not have loved you. That is physically what the Bill Clinton White House did. That is physically what the George W. Bush state of Texas did. That is physically what CPS did to children 30 years ago. It's very well documented. Those kids weren't lying whenever they said that over and over again, whenever they were staying at the Waco Methodist School home, or the Methodist home for kids, where they were supposed to be, they were going to be put together with their parents, and the government, whether it be federal or state, both divisions lie.
It's what we're seeing in Plainview. It's not localized to Plainview, unfortunately. It's happening all over the place. But the difference is that this family said, we're not going to take a pacifist answer. We're going to get to the bottom of this, and rightfully so.
And remember what Heather said. Her father is a pastor. So this goes directly in line with the fact they're coming after your Christian family. Never mind the fact that the girl's parents are having problems. When I grew up, we had pastors, preachers' kids are the worst. We had pastors, we had ministers of music. Their kids were on drugs, party, did whatever because they were rebelling. Luckily, a lot of the ones, and not all of them were that way, but there were some, and they've correct for the ones I've known, they've corrected themselves. But you have to look at the fact that it's a constant spiritual battle with those families. It's a constant spiritual battle with those families. And with that being said, this girl has already got one black mark against her. Where the demons are coming and they're trying to do things. Now the people that are supposed to protect her are the ones that are victimizing her, are the ones that are putting her up as a harlot. Again, she asked for it. She was probably, was her mini skirt how far was it above her knee? Was this 6-year-old talking these boys into it? No, that's not the question at all. Where in the hell did these boys learn how to do this? And the bottom line is their parents have not checked their activities. That they could have great parents, but we all know that law enforcement is involved and law enforcement is protecting their own. Right now, the badge bears the brunt and the weight of this bastardization of this child. Right now, whenever you look at Plainview, all I can say is Plainview pedophiles. I hope that people spray paint that on every billboard they can up there. I hope that people brand any football player a pedophile until they get this thing realigned, until they get this thing back on track. The only way to do this is exactly what the left does. They bullied this little girl. It's time to bully back.
Well, no, and I want to, like, my mama instincts wants to yell at you and say, no, leave the football players alone. But I mean, where does it end? Where is it? What is the locker room talk going on right now? What's the conversation? What's the real life look like? Because if you really stop and look at it, football players, and I'm going to pick on them, and I'm not specifically talking about one specific football player, but we have seen a history of, look at the college sports, look at where the football players, you get this locker room mentality. We got to protect each other. And some girl ends up dead at a dorm party because she was going to rat out because the football player was getting too rough with her, or fill in the blank. I mean, this is the kind of locker room mentality, if you will, that we were supposed to be trying to eradicate. And instead we're just covering it up now.
Well, no, exactly right. And then while we're all sitting up here saying, and I said, this was a story that had it broke early on. These people could have spoke up at the Capitol. Here's the funny part. Had the school administration done the right thing in the beginning, this never would have been a national offense. Mm-hmm. Constantly people are going, I can't believe it. I talked to Alan West. He was like, yeah, the Plainview ISD thing. He was like, well, we had no clue you were involved with that. I'm like, well, I've talked to the cousin / kind of the spokesperson. And nothing to say anything against the grandmother or the aunts or anything, because they've put their stuff out there. But you know what? Heather has been a very vocal supporter of her cousin. She hasn't shed any light. I mean, any negative light at all towards the truth. She's actually offered defense of these people. But every time she offers defense, it's like, oh, bam, we're going to take a mile. So you know what? She was asking for it. It is exactly what they said. The fact that Wally Hatch, the district attorney, and I want people to remember the name Wally Hatch. I also want them to remember the name David Cochran. He's the sheriff. And the sheriff of that county physically said, the police have it. The same police that this is one of their own, those guys, where are the Texas Rangers at? Where's the governor at? Where are the legislators that are sitting here not discussing this, but yet they're sitting up in Austin right now? And this would have been something that they could have taken the bull by the horns on. Charles Perry is the state senator up there. Jody Arrington is the U.S. congressman up there. His very own FBI, the same FBI that he is calling a liar because of January the 6th, the same FBI that he is calling a liar because of the Russian hoax, the same FBI has just investigated a 6-year-old and said, hey, she got what she was asking for. Yeah. That's where Jody Arrington is. And if he has daughters, then he's an absent bastard father is what he is. He's been up there in D.C. too damn long. And remember, he worked under George W. Bush. Those are the same people that put the CPS workers with the Waco Branch Davidians. That's exactly and said, hey, look, your parents must not have loved you. They decided to set themselves on fire and die.
Yeah, no, we've perverted the parental conversation so badly in this country, right? If you're not with us, then you're against us, and if you're against us, even on one, you can be with us on 9 things, but if you're against us on that 10th one, It's because you are the devil and X, Y, and Z. And that's creating a worst case scenario for in 10 years, right? So what it's doing is it's teaching, instead of going with that kind of methodology that I just spoke about earlier about, hey, you may not have had the best mom in the world growing up, but that doesn't mean that she didn't love you in whatever capacity that she could love you, right? Instead, it's like, oh, you got the short end of the stick. They must have hated your guts. Ah, you got everything you deserved. You're a crap bag, right? Like that's kind of this new, I don't even want to say it's a new mentality, but this is like the way that we're forming things around. You have somebody, I'm going to pick on our friend Thad for a second, Sheriff Thaddeus Cleveland out there in Terrell County. He says it all the time. He said, look, I didn't have my biological mom and dad growing up. I was raised by my grandmother on Social Security, but I was kind of raised by the town. And he goes, honestly, I may have had it better than most people that had two parents growing up. And we've seen evidence of that. We've seen where people who, just kind of folded him into their bench, just like, you do with as parents of kids, or maybe you were that kid, you just fold in another kid into your group and you go and you do things and whatever. We've seen that evidence where, families are just loving on him like he was one of their own kids. That there used to be, that was okay. And now it's so taboo. And if you are anything except for a perfect family, then you get cut off, and it's crap. It's absolute crap. Now with these kids, what's happening in Plainview, this is at the hands of the ISD. This is at the hand of the school. This is a hierarchy situation that has got to be nipped in the bud. Even the victims' families have said these boys that are involved in this are victims also, and they're not getting the help that they deserve because the grown-ups are too busy playing games.
Well, and keep
that
in mind,
should say something.
Well, and keep in mind, we have a law here in Texas now that kids under the age of 7 aren't responsible for their actions. Okay, where are we at with the rehabilitation of the one child? What about the rehabilitation of these children here? Where are they on the fact that the electronic devices in the house? The FBI got involved. The FBI can sit down and they can tell you who opened the refrigerator what time if they got the proper smart refrigerator. Bottom line is they've totally dropped the ball. And nobody in Congress wants to investigate them on the January 6th stuff. Nobody, properly investigate. Nobody wants to investigate them on what they actually knew about Hunter Biden and his laptop. Now we have the allegations of the fact that now the Biden regime has been taking money as vice president, and then again, whenever he wasn't vice president anymore, with now foreign actors. He's now the president of a country that is in bed with the foreign actors that have been killing people. So that being said, let's go back to the 6-year-old girl right here. The fact that nobody in Congress can get that taken care of, nor can they come over here and take care of this little girl right here. I'm calling on Jody Arrington. Jody Arrington, the congressman up there, the finance man for the NRCC, whatever. I'm calling on that man right there, or NCR, whatever they call it. I'm calling on that man right there to ask the FBI for exclusivity. I want to know what was on that iPad. Was it really 34 seconds? And did she look like she enjoyed it? What was, why is it?
And who gets to analyze that?
Well, here's the thing. Why is it that she was very specific in saying, hey, I hit him with my poetry book. I said, no, I did this. I did that. She says that to her parents, but yet she says to a big, tall, burly guy that's my size, the 6-year-old, to a guy that's over the age of 25, let's hope, that's over the age of 30, let's hope, that has children of his own, let's hope, that somewhere in there, the man, remember, this was her rape and grief counselor, was a man. CPS sent a man for this girl's rape and grief counseling, period, for him to find out what's going on. I want to know where Jody Arrington is on the fact that that's who counseled with the FBI, what they found, and to bring it back. Why aren't the parents now? Sure, they're filing a lawsuit. Okay, now we can hide behind the fact, they're suing us. Why did the school district not come out and bring the parents in first and foremost to say, oh, hey, guess what happened? Your daughter was involved in this. Because I know whenever my kid was accidentally accused of something, and whenever I drove 300 miles and I told that principal, if he steps out of line, you whip his ass, and I said that in front of him, That principal looked at me and she said, "We normally don't have parents that support us." I said, "Not only did I support you, I just spent $200 in fuel. This is going to cost me 12 hours of drive time. Whenever I drove home last night and I got in, I slept on the couch. And whenever it came, and I made sure he got a good night of sleep, because when we got up and we went down there, and we didn't get up first thing in the morning. Everybody else was cleared out of the house. Then we get down there. Oh, it was a misunderstanding. Okay. Well, you know what? You had a misunderstanding. I understood that. You can ask the principal. She was shocked. And I let her know, this is my kid. You're raising him. You screw it up, I'm coming after you. And then I looked at him and I said, "You're my kid. She is your parent while I am not here. She is making the decisions for you." She understood that I let him know that she is in charge. She understood that I let him know that if he screwed up and she reacted, that was my consent. That being said, do you think she screwed up? No. That also being said, that kid, he's at the top 5% of his class right now. I was at the top 5% of the lower quarter of my class. Just because we grew up one way doesn't mean we discipline another. I'm telling you right now. I told him, I says, "Look, I was a crap bag when I was in school. I went to public school. I was in there. Teachers could care less. They didn't want to be there. The students didn't want to be there. I didn't want to be there. I had to fight for graduation because I skipped school all the time. That's how much I actually hated it there. Although I liked my teachers, I was very respectful, and that's why I got a second chance, because I wasn't a turd. I just wasn't there. And when it came time to doing my final exams, guess what they said? You got to pass everything with a 95. I had 2 weeks to go through the last semester, which also led into the prior semester before that, because there had to be a background setup of stuff that I missed. And when my dad sat up with me day and night for 2 weeks, bam, it was there. They went off to Tennessee for my sister to graduate from her college. And whenever they drove straight back, barely made it to my graduation on time, and I still walked. And I did that because I had parents that cared, because I had people in the community that cared. My teachers actually cared.
Well, and that right there is a big difference in what we're seeing right now. And you're picking on your son, but you're doing it to bring in a good point. And what happened with him wasn't even.
I'm not picking on my kid. There was a huge misunderstanding. You know what? This whole thing could have been a huge misunderstanding, exactly like that was, that nobody was picked on. But like I said, the fact that the school reached out immediately, that's what would have turned this around. In talking to Heather, she's not the parent of this child, but she is a parent of a baby. And she specifically made those statements. You've heard her. She's been on here. She's been on many other programs. Yeah. I hope that Plainview ISD, the elected officials, they decide they're going to stop picking on Christians. They're going to decide they're going to stop picking on families. They're going to start taking up for the children.
So what I was starting to say was, you're proving the point by picking on your son, telling that story, because you're exactly right. You're showing that when parents and schools are involved with one another, that it gets nipped in the bud. That's the thing. They were proactive and you were proactive, and there wasn't we have to wait and be reactive because we found out about something way too late. That there's the difference there. You're
using a term. I picked on him. I didn't. I was disciplining him.
Okay.
I was finding out what was going on, and whenever I could weigh,
2020s, Walt. I'm talking about it in a healthy way.
I don't like to pick on people until it's time to bully people. This is the school board. This is a community that needs to be bullied into becoming Americans again. Stop this Sodom and Gomorrah crap that they've got going on. That they need to stop raping these children. Wally Hatch right now, the district attorney there, says it's okay for 6-year-olds to have consensual sex. What happens whenever his grandchild or his great-grandchild gets put in this situation right here? Remember, there's a whole nother situation with the superintendent, if I'm not mistaken. Is it the superintendent?
That's correct. The superintendent.
Okay. Yeah, somebody threw a bottle at his kid.
Yeah. Now he's trying to invoke the law.
Nobody threw a wiener in his mouth. What's he going to do then? Oh, you know what? It's trans. No, wrong. Bottom line is, he got mad. Somebody threw a bottle at his kid, whether it was an accident or not. He still got upset. Now he's picking on them. This girl right here, I mean, this is an egregious act. This is the kind of stuff that if had this been my daughter, I'd have strung the superintendent up. I'm telling you right now. I mean, we're talking. Yeah, go ahead and put it out there in court. This is exactly what happens. I'd have made an example out of that bastard. I'd have made an example out of every elected official on that school board. Why did you not stand up? Executive session or open session, doesn't matter. Why was there not an emergency school board meeting call? Why was there not, hey, let's bring the parents in. Let's deal with this as a community. Let's deal with this as whatever. The fact that Miss Holt, the teacher, oh, she's a good teacher. She didn't have her earphones in. She did have her earphones in. She had a sexual assault in her classroom.
Well, the reality is
they need to ride her ass out of there. She needs to lose her retirement. They need to burn that city down with her name all over it.
We've proven the case about the headphones. There's no possible way that they could have proven that she was not wearing headphones or if she was wearing headphones. There's zero possible way for them to have been able to tell that without physically being in that classroom. She's got long hair. It was a video camera in the hallway, a surveillance camera in the hallway. And like we talked about on the show last week, I said, you see these video cameras and even from the school shooting video cameras, you can't freaking make out anything. It's all blurry and grainy looking. How in the hell can you tell if somebody's wearing headphones?
It doesn't matter.
It does matter because they're over here trying to say that
You're arguing over whether or not she should have earphones on.
I'm arguing over the fact that they're over here nitpicking this and they're trying to make that the issue, and it's not the issue.
It doesn't matter that she had him in or that she didn't. There never should have been the argument. Why did this?
You're right. It should not have been, and that's the sword they're trying to die on.
Her husband or her father needs to have his ass kicked by somebody in that community. That's what needs to happen.
Well, good luck with that. We got to take a commercial break. We'll be right back, y'all. we are back. A huge thank you to the amazing sponsors, of course, Montgomery County Tea Party. Don't forget tonight at 6:30. Get there a little bit early. Try and get there around 6 so you can get something to eat, get a good seat, hug some necks. I'm going to be there with the amazing Charlotte. So make sure you guys are there. She's super excited. She's been talking about it for 2 days. She's going to see Miss Patty and Miss Susan and John. So make sure you guys are there so you can get an autograph with the one and only Charlotte. And also there's going to be a great speaker. One of the judges is going to be speaking about mental health. Of course, it's Mental Health Week. So I'm just going to put that there. I'm not even going to comment one way or the other. It's Mental Health Week. So just pay attention to people around you. Not everybody is fighting the same battle. Also, of course, the Vietnam Veterans of America. We appreciate your service and sacrifice to our nation. Everything that you have done has not been in vain because you are changing the world, especially when it comes to veterans and how they are treated when they come home. We truly appreciate everything that you've done. If you're interested in hosting a show, if you want to host a show here on Texas Fully Loaded, we'll take that too. Or if you just want to do a commercial, let one of us know. We would love to make your dream a reality. And guess who wanted to do that? That's right. Mammoth Nation did. They said, hey, Texas Fully Loaded, we see that you guys have got great viewership, so we want to offer something to them. We would love to offer our exclusive membership to the Texas Fully Loaded community. So if you go to mammothNation.com/#WeThePeopleWork, you can join this amazing group. You can get discounts on services. You can get discount on American-made products. So you want to make sure that you're a part of this. All of the businesses here are here in America. So, I mean, heck yeah. So go through here, find out what's here, click on, make sure you do mammothNation.com/WeThePeopleWork. See, just like it is right here, so that we can reap some benefits and you guys can reap some benefits and we're all just benefiting. It's a great situation. So please do that. If you are not interested in hosting a commercial here on Texas Fully Loaded, but you do want to support the show, which we desperately need, please go to TexasFullyLoaded.com, click on #WeThePeopleWork. You can also go to PayPal, Cash App, and Venmo at Texas Fully Loaded. We truly appreciate your support and your love. Yay! Okay, so where in the heck fires are we? Yeah, I know. It's pretty exciting. Thanks, Mimi. So I'm gonna bring Walter back on the show. Y'all got to see real explosive television live. Are you going to unmute yourself? I mean, this might be better this way. What did you do? I can't unmute it because you muted it. There you are. Hi.
Technology problems. What can I say?
Let's have a goose frog moment. So this week was Mother's Day. This weekend was Mother's Day. I got a very cool new coffee cup from my sweet little ones. Now, if you knew about the Mother's Day drama last year, Manny and the big boys found this really cute. It's the baseball mom poster that you guys see in my office in Laredo, and the little ones were very upset because they did not get something. So this year, they decided to do one that mommy can take with her everywhere, unlike those stupid brothers. That's a direct quote from Arthur because they call them the brothers. So anyway, maybe. Walter. Anyway, so we had a fun Mother's Day weekend. My oldest went to go and be with his papu for this last week, and so he got to rejoin us on Mother's Day. So that was nice, like it always is. But there's my rowdy crew. We went and saw Sam Houston. If you've ever driven on 45, you've seen the big, huge statue of Sam Houston. So we stopped in and we saw that. And we went to the Air and Space Museum this weekend also, without the biggest one, just the three younger ones. So it was a fun little treat, just a little time to get away and have some fun with the kiddos. So that was nice. Walt, did you do something special for your mama?
I bought her a pizza.
You bought your mother a pizza?
Yeah, she tried to buy me a pizza with her app. I was like, no, I'll go down. So I said, nope, we changed it around. I customized it, put bacon on it, whatever that kind of stuff was. We went down and picked it up so I could be the one to pay for it. That's my mom. No, got her a present. You know, boys and I, we were able to go there and hang out a little bit. And she was, at Now I'm trying to remember what. Oh, I know what I got her. Oh, this is the best thing ever. I got her an Elvis Presley garden gnome.
Oh, that's hysterical. That is hysterical.
I remember when she cried when Elvis died, and anyway, I mean, I was alive when that happened, and anyway, the boys we were up at Hobby Lobby getting some things, and this most god awful freaking thing was there, and I tried to put it in front of her TV. She's got this mount in front of her TV that's up on the wall she can't reach, and that would have been just the funniest thing for her to have to call somebody in 2 or 3 days because she can't get around the what do you call it, the big Elvis gnome that's blocking her TV. But now she was doing good. She's cancer survivor in her, well, she's 75, so she's been doing some good stuff, and then she's got my tail is always down on the border, trying to save the country one county at a time, and anyway, the kids that are being exploited down there, the women that are being exploited down there, the men that are being exploited down there, and it's all a big political fight between our politicians and the cartels.
Yeah. I have a funny Elvis story with my grandmother. When I was a teenager, there was one of those infomercials on for like an Elvis pillow, or I don't know, some nonsense or whatever. And it was on in the other room, and we were cleaning off the table. And I said, I don't even know why people make such a big deal about him. He really wasn't that cute. And I just kind of went on like this little tangent for a minute. And I turned around, and my grandmother literally sat there with her mouth wide open. And Granddad goes, well, you had a good run, kid, and just tapped me on the shoulder and walked away. So I didn't trash talk how I didn't think Elvis was cute anymore after that. But in fairness to me, it was like the 70s Elvis where he was fat and all. So it wasn't like he was the cute Elvis then. And that's what I had kept seeing. And so anyway, I almost died saying that Elvis was not cute. Awkward for everyone.
Yeah, for those of us who really knew the true Elvis, the one that came to the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, that was at the played in the Astrodome, and he it may not have been the rodeo, I apologize, but it was at the Astrodome. I remember that event. I remember just the and I was pretty small, so yeah, Elvis was a thing, and when he died, it was that was
the thing.
That was like Michael Jackson, I guess, of the day, except,
but not so pedophilia-ish.
Yeah, really weird stuff.
Yeah, weird stuff. So, okay, well, you brought up the border. So, do we want to go border, or do we want to finish with children? Because we need to talk about SB 14 for just a quick second.
No, I mean SB 14. Shoot, it's if you look at it, this goes back to, I was watching Christina Morales. She's a Democrat here in Houston, and she'll never stop fighting for the trans kids. I drove. I know you didn't get to listen to all of what was going on in the debate with SB 14 when it was in the House, but Ann Johnson got up there and started talking about the trans kids in her community, and how we need to get those children at the age of 4, 5, and 6 the proper blockers and chemical castration stuff that they need, so that they're not so beat up like they were 20 years ago whenever you couldn't come out of the closet. And I'm kind of trying to think about where that all came from, because if I'm not mistaken, growing up in the 80s, it was always funny to have the gay guy on. In the 90s, it was always funny to have the gay guy on. In the early 2000s, it was always funny to have the gay guy on. And then turn it into the teens, and the gays got angry. That they finally got their just due. It was okay to be out. I mean, Rock Hudson was in the closet. He, most 80 to 90-year-old women to this day are just, oh my God, I can't believe Rock Hudson was a closet queer. But that was the thing back in those days. You kept it quiet. But we had the AIDS epidemic. We had all the stuff. You had all of the hate that came out against that. And the funny thing was, I remember growing up in high school in the 80s and graduating with people that were gay. I mean, I didn't go out there and beat anybody up, roll anybody. Was there funny conversations that were had? Yeah. Oh, and now it's hate speech. The fact that they've turned the gay thing into pastors aren't allowed to say certain things that are in the Bible, which they're saying is freedom of speech. I mean, no, that's freedom of religion. freedom of religion, not freedom from religion. These, like I said on the Mark Driscoll Hour, that was the, I don't know if you were going to play that clip or not.
Yeah, it was. Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, no, I mean, play that clip, that right there, that pounds it home right there. It's literally we're seeing the church having to fight for what it shouldn't have to fight for. We're seeing the government take over the church.
Let's play this real quick.
Tinfoil hat person. This is in the Bible, okay? The spirit of Babylon in the days of Daniel to our own day is always seeking to do three things. Number one, close the church. In the days of Daniel, they forbid the worship of God. They invaded Jerusalem. They shut down the temple. The worship of God was canceled. I'm telling you, a few years ago, the spirit of Babylon went global, tried to close the church. Just close it. That's always the first goal. The second goal, if it can't keep the church closed and the church is open, is have it compromised. What we would call apostate or woke. False teaching, soft teaching, taking the spirit of Babylon and bringing it into the children of God. Third thing that the spirit of Babylon is always seeking to do is to literally cut off the next generation. Because if you love the Lord and your kids don't, then faith ends when your life ends. In the days of Daniel, they castrated him as a young man. Does this sound familiar at all? Like, hey, let's close the church if it's open. Let's make it compromised, apostate, and woke. And while we're at it, let's mutilate the next generation of children. I'm not a tinfoil hat person.
Wow.
So, I mean, he's exactly right. That's exactly what we've got going on right now. It goes into our military. What's the best way to demasculate the military? Well, like the Navy, they threw a trans guy on there. I haven't watched it, but this dude is a trans dude. He is saying, hey, come join the Navy. You can be like me because even trans can make it or whatnot. We've always laughed and made fun of the Navy for years. Submarine jokes, shower jokes, basic training jokes, all the kind of stuff you can think about. But at the bottom line, the Navy is the seaborne fighting force, period. So why would you advocate for people to join the Navy to not be able to fight for their country? If you have surgery, certain surgeries, you have to get out of the military. If you have other kinds of surgeries that allow you to perform a task, you're non-deployable. The fact that you would come into the Navy, have them pay for your transition, should never be a part of it. You want to get some benefits, you fight for the country. The fact that you want to tuck your weenie, cut it off, lop it off, go out and get a set of boobs and go out there and play. And at what point do we have trannies on a stage in a sailor's outfit by the Navy? When has the Navy, the United States Navy, when have they ever joined a drag queen show? Never. Not until Joe Biden and the Democrats. Remember, the Democrats are the racist ones here. They created the KKK. Joe Biden openly talked about the ethnic jungle he didn't want his children to grow up in. Then he turns around and lies to people. And so they take sound bites of lies and they, we got to vote for Joe Biden. Hey, listen, you didn't like Donald Trump. That's fine. But what we're having, the reason why we have such inflated gas prices, the reason why we have such inflation, the reason why we have such unemployment, the reason why the country got shut down was because people were believing everything they were being told by a government that lies to them. They believed everything hook, line, and sinker. And now where are they? Well, Fauci's on defense, trying to say, well, I never shut down anything directly. No, but the wrong people put him up on a stage. I don't care who you are. To put that fool up on a stage, that's a guy they need to run up the flagpole. That's if you want to call January 6th an insurrection, that guy should have been hanging from the Washington Monument. And I want to know where Congress is on that.
Well, and most of my friends were all Navy and everything else. And, Manny, of course, is Navy. My dad was Navy. Like, we've got Navy to our core. And they are all absolutely unhinged over this drag queen as the spokesperson for the Navy for recruiting. And I think I've shared on the show before, that was actually a recruiting sales point 10 years ago. Hey, if you join, you can get the surgery and blah, 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 and you never even have to leave the United States. Like that was something that they had started trying to do. And I'm trying to find the picture because a friend of mine posted a picture of the new trans spokesperson for the Navy, and all of the sailors, that most of them are all retired now. They're all just absolutely coming unhinged over this because they're like, what the crap, and Walter, you've told this story on the air before also about the trans guy, or the whatever he was, the gay guy that was in your platoon, who was trying to put on eyeliner, and you called in the women and like, I'm sorry, are you allowed to wear makeup when you're in uniform? And so, and that's the whole thing.
Actually, I was an instructor. Yes. And they knew, as y'all saw before the commercial, they knew I was going to come absolutely unhinged. I think they did it to get me in trouble. But we had officers down there, we had senior enlisted down there, and whenever those two female soldiers that were in their initial entry training status, whenever they walked into that women's latrine, it's like, wait a second, bam, bring them out here. They had a male trying to put on something that women are not even allowed to do. So this gets back into where the military, I mean, they should have said, hey, you know what, we're going to go ahead and we're going to let the male soldier try out for the women's diving team. Again, all they want to do is rob women, period. This 6-year-old girl, all they want to do is rob this 6-year-old girl of her innocence. And because this is going to be something that's going to come back and hit her when she's in junior high, if she stays in that town. That's all the Navy wants to do is they want to provide some sort of embarrassment for these individuals. This is how you take a country down. This is the Communist Manifesto. Anyone advocating for this stuff, because remember this, during the Holocaust and even during communism, these were the people that were being killed. Now they're trying to do a Saul Alinsky on us, and people aren't catching that. Oh man, he must be, he's one of those conspiracy theorists. I'm sorry. When did any man ever look good in a freaking Bud Light costume, drag queen costume? I mean, you saw what happened with Bud Light. People were like, wait a second, I kind of like this beer, until they started pushing crap down our throats.
That's kind of creepy, Mimi. But you're absolutely right, Walter. And this is the problem that we're coming into. This is the real war on women was created by men to do this transgender thing to trump women again. And the worst part is you've got all of these. Somebody posted recently, and that was another one of the articles I was trying to look for, because it had like the actual. It had all the articles in there about how. Why am I calling myself? What's happening here? It had all of the articles in there and all of the quotes of where they're trying to do this, to literally that it's middle-aged college women, white women specifically, who are attacking women for speaking out against transgender women. It is the most asinine, ass backwards thing you've ever seen in your life. And now there's this new trend on social media. I don't know if you guys have seen it yet or not, but it is literally going after women who want to have a traditional home where the husband goes to work and the woman stays at home, and they have what they're calling tradition. I can't remember what the hashtag is for it, but it's literally just this attack, and it's other women who are attacking the women. It's not men who are attacking women on this. It's women who are attacking women. And we've talked about this on the show before. There's this whole thing where women are harder on each other than on anybody else. And it shouldn't be that way. Like, when you talk about breastfeeding versus bottle feeding, things along those lines, like it literally is stuff that is that simple that women attack each other over. And so now you're going to another woman's attacking another woman for defending a man who's dressing up like a woman because we're hating on women. It's got to be the stupidest, most asinine argument. And then you have these women who are defending men in women's sports because they put a skirt on, when you can see their freaking wedding tassels hanging inside of their freaking bathing suits. Like, I don't understand. That's not a woman. That's a man. You can see his freaking junk. Why is
No,
this a thing?
yeah, no, and that's what you get with women. That's why women are weaker. Period.
Shut up, before I punch you.
Well, I mean, I'll call a spade a spade. Hey, what's that dong hanging there? Well, today he identifies with a vagina. That doesn't look like a vagina to me.
No, it's stupid. It's absolutely stupid.
The fact that they create Barbie toys for these dudes to wear so they can have a period. Oh, even men can have periods too. No, they can't. I mean, I guess if you have a turd the size of a basketball, maybe, but no, that ain't happening. It's not. They don't have the ovaries. They don't have the things there, and for them to add to the violent freak show that Margaret Sanger helped to create, they're experimenting with things. They're creating. Got to trust the science. That's great. Go trust the science all day long. Bottom line is that was God's creation, and you're trying to create a different narrative that has ever been there.
Yeah. No, it's I'm pretty open with my kids about, girls versus boys, because, you have to teach them. You have to teach them this stuff at home, because if you don't, then the schools feel like that's their agenda is, well, you didn't teach them at home. Well, I'm making sure my children know the real differences and stuff. And, it's even conversations like periods, right? Like, I mean, it's a thing that happens and men can't get them. And it was funny because Charlotte asked something about, she saw my pads or something in the bathroom, and she asked a question, and Arthur very quickly goes, it's because that's something for girls because boys don't have periods, right, Mom? And I'm like, absolutely correct. Boys cannot have periods. He goes, see, we just can't do it because we're made different. And it's so simple that the child understands this until you send them to public schools. Typically, thankfully, we're still pretty safe with where we're at, relatively speaking. But it's disgusting. So I do want to touch really quick, Walt, on there's some confusion. So people think that SB 14 has completely passed. That's not the complete. That's not completely correct. So SB 14 has passed to the third reading is what the actual thing is. And so Dana Myers, it's the vice president or vice chairwoman of the Republican Party of Texas. She posted that on Friday that it's passed to the third reading or something. Let me put exactly what she posted. She said SB 14 passed third reading. That's how she posted it. And there was a lot of confusion on this from people. So I just wanted to show the full context of that here, because Valerie Swanson actually came back, and because somebody said, when did it pass third reading? It just passed second reading on Friday, May 12th. Can it pass third reading on the same day it passed second reading? And so then Valerie Swanson, she's a representative from this area, from the MoCo area. She said, Alexi,
nope.
Third reading.
Harris County area.
I apologize. Harris County area. Third reading will be on Monday. It probably causes confusion when the speaker says SB 14 is passed to third reading. It may sound like has passed third reading. After third reading Monday, it will be sent back to the Senate, which will likely vote to concur with the House amendments. This avoids conference committee. Then it will not have to come back to the House like a conference committee report would, then on to the governor. So, I just wanted to kind of put that out there, because I think there was some confusion, because I think people thought that it had passed, and then it was just going back to play the volleyball game, really. Is that a fair assessment to say that, Walter?
No, yeah. And it's, again, it's getting people engaged in what the process is. There's, I was looking at some of the bills, and I looked at people that got online and testified for things. This was something that we've been able to do since COVID struck. Actually, during COVID, we weren't allowed to convene or meet as a state legislative body, even though it was a unconstitutional mandate. That now I just don't know how certain people get reelected from by taking away the businesses and whatnot of others. But at the same time, though, these are things people need to get involved in the process. They need to have their voices heard. The fact whenever you went to testify, we had all those leftists that They were talking about all the white supremacy by all the Hispanic police officers on the border. That was the most asinine thing I've ever heard. Well, the fact that the Republican committee leader on that actually allowed that all to happen, and they crapped on federal agents, that they crapped on veterans, people, that went there, and they made them testify. Wait, at the end, you had people that weren't even U.S. citizens that were up there testifying. When do they ever get to address their redresses over the citizenry here? You want America first, you want Texas first. Well, by God, act like it. The fact that these individuals, they're voters, and that's where I'm on bully tactics. This is where people need to get in there. And who was the guy that was in charge of that committee up there?
Hunter.
Todd Hunter.
Todd
right?
Hunter. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
that's why I did this.
Where are his people? Where are his voters? Where did they come in? Do they not know that the guy that they elected totally crapped on their sovereignty, totally crapped on the fact that their voices, and I'm not talking Democrat and Republican voices. I'm talking the left and the right.
Well, see, Walter, here's where there's the loophole, and so you just have to get over it there, pal. And I am poking the bear on this one. This is the loophole, because in Texas, you don't have to be a citizen, a resident of Texas or a citizen of Texas to be allowed to testify. So who says that they have to be a citizen of the United States to testify? Because that's not written in there. So this is their loophole. This is where, because all people should have a voice. This is the same crap that we heard. And this is actually hysterical. When I ran the first time, right. Well, this part's not, because my aunt died, but when I ran the first time, after the primaries, I went up to my aunt's funeral in Maryland, and there's only a handful of us that are Republicans, and even smaller handful of us that are openly Republican. And my cousin Corey and I were standing there, and at the time I still smoked, and so we were all out there smoking together, because that's what all the cousins do, right? So we're all out there, and one of my uncles was there. He's technically my cousin, but he's my mom's age, a little bit older than my mom, so I call my uncle. And he's like, "Well, Sandy, we're and they are like super liberal, like pink pussy marches in Washington D.C., like that kind of liberal, right?" And so he said, "Sandy, we don't necessarily agree with you, but we're proud of you for using your voice and standing up for what you believe in." And I said, "Well, thank you. I truly appreciate that, Jimmy." And he goes, "Yeah." And so, it was very awkward, but very, not what I was expecting. So I was pleased. But my cousin Corey, on the other hand, decided to poke the bear and stir the pot. So he goes, "Hey, Sandy, tell me about the primaries." And he goes, "Because I could actually vote for you, because I'm a legal citizen, and I actually live in your district, so I get to vote for you. Wasn't there a lot of election fraud in your primaries?" And I said, "Well, funny enough that you say that." I said, "Yeah." I said, "We had a lot of illegals that were voting, especially in some of the border counties. It's something that happens in every election down there." And I said, "It's, this is why it's important that we have voter ID." And instantly Jimmy's head like exploded, and he turned redder than my shirt, and he goes, people are allowed to vote." And I was like, but only if they're citizens. If they want to vote, they need to go vote in their own country. And so that's when the pleasantries ended. But the pleasantries are nice while they lasted. But it was hysterical, because in Maryland, you don't have to have an ID to vote. You don't have to be a U.S. citizen to vote, because they can't prove that you are or not, because you don't have an ID. It doesn't make any sense. Oh, and speaking of voter stuff, so when Alex's driver's license expired from his 17-year-old driver's license into his 18-year-old driver's license, right? So you got to get you're no longer a baby driver's license. So when that happened, we could renew it online. So I did. Well, on the DMV website, DMV website here in Texas, it said, "Do you want to update your voter registration?" So we clicked yes, because we wanted to see what was going to happen. Guess what happened? Alexander received a voter registration card in the mail a week ago. He's a registered voter in the state of Texas. Did you know that Texas claims that you can't do online voter registration, Walter? Do you know that Alexander physically never filled out anything at all? He didn't fill out a thing.
And now he's a registered voter?
And now he's a registered voter. Isn't that something?
Well, and you know, that goes to the failure of the parties, because why aren't we registering kids before they graduate whenever they're 18? I mean, why is this not a thing? Why are the civics instructors or teachers? Why are the American history instructors or teachers? Why are they not pushing for this? Why are they not advocating for, hey, pick your party, but you need to vote for your poison, and allowing it to go that way? The bottom line is and you know, on top of that, here we are fighting for. We had the unconstitutional argument for having it to where, like Justin Holland, I believe, is one of the ones that said, you know, we should possibly look at raising the legal age to buy a firearm as far as a long gun to 21 from 18. When the Supreme Court, I mean, we're talking, this is an unconstitutional bill that made the Republicans look like a moron, because their guy, he's like, well, I have an NRA rating, which makes the NRA look like a moron. I have several guns, which makes, you know, gun owners look like morons. But I think we should at least listen to the argument of letting kids that are not mature, we should raise, you know, because of smoking and because of drinking. Well, bottom line is, if you're able to serve your country, then you should, and vote, make the decisions, you should be able to do those things. And yet we're advocating for taking those guns away whenever the Supreme Court has already gone in there. So this bill was written, this bill was argued. Not a lot of people jumped in there. I didn't see anything where it said, hey, this is unconstitutional, specifically via the Supreme Court. I mean, think of it, if they pass the bill, it gets signed into law. Do you realize the fact that the Supreme Court would be able to come in and nullify what your state just did? Because specifically the Second Amendment is covered in the Constitution. That is a federal where the feds do come in there, and Congress hasn't touched it. States get to do what they want to do. Okay, that's just fine. Bottom line, hey, you know, this is what has given us for firearms. This is why we're in the problems we're in. Guns are not a problem. It's the person behind the gun that is a problem. And when we start taking responsibilities away from people that are fixing to turn 18 and things like that, that's whenever we start turning them into children. And whenever we started saying, hey, you're a dependent until you're 26 because of Obamacare, which most people can't afford, then there's this whole thing about, oh, well, my child should live in my basement until he's 25. You know, the fact that hey, I'm graduated from high school, I'm going to college, but I can act like a moron throughout. I mean, you've got other people. I physically got out of high school by the grace of God, and then I turned into the class president of everything I ever did. My college years, or my law enforcement, or my fire, or my paramedic certification stuff, I was top level. And why? Because I had to produce. Those were things that were going to get me further in the job that I was looking for, and I took that seriously. I didn't get to hang out at fraternity parties. I didn't get to hang out. I mean, I did go to some, but I wasn't a part of a fraternity. When I was physically going to school, I was actually an employee of a city working as a firefighter in a degree program that was a state sanctioned degree program that a lot of people couldn't make it through. So, you know, and then of course, you know, my service in the military, all that kind of stuff. These are things that, you know, when we get kids as 18-year-olds that come into the service, the first thing they do is spend all their money on crap. Oh, look, I got gold jewelry. I got a Nintendo. Hey, I got this girlfriend, and I'm going to buy a car, and I'm going to make the payments, and she's going to drive it around. And the whole entire time that girl's praying, man, I hope he gets shot. I hope he gets killed. That way I can keep the car. This is why kids, and now that we have them fighting over whether or not they should have a wiener or not, this is why we're having trouble with our kids, and this is why we're having trouble with our society, because we have dumbed down the people that should be making the decisions. Over a century, almost over a century ago, 18-year-olds, 17-year-olds, 14-year-olds were lying about their identity so they could go fight World War I. That was over a century ago.
Yep. Well, listen, we need to take another commercial break, and we're going to come right back. We're going to talk a little bit more about what's happening on the border. Our local mayor in Laredo is making national headlines. So we're going to be right back with some of that and a little bit more about what's actually really going on. So we'll be right back, y'all. We are back with a huge thank you to our amazing sponsors, the Montgomery County Tea Party. Don't forget tonight, it starts at 6:30. Try and get there a little bit early, around 6, so you can hug some necks. Charlotte's going to be signing autographs, so make sure that you're there. She's super excited to see everybody, so y'all be there and be all happy and go lucky. See her, she's squealing. She's excited. Tonight, there's going to... And she said she's playing a game right now. Tonight, one of the judges is going to be there speaking on mental health. This is Mental Health Awareness Week, so make sure that you are checking in on people. It's important, know your tribe, know your people. Know that if you need to speak to somebody, there is always somebody willing to listen, willing to help you, give you a hug, do what needs to happen, because you are valuable, you are important, and you matter. So we're not going to go all leftist on you, but we actually do care about people. So let's make sure that we're caring about one another. Also, the Vietnam Veterans of America, they know all about that. They have been making sure that their brothers and sisters in arms are being taken care of and are doing wellness checks, because don't forget, 22 a day is the veterans number, and that's 22 a day too many. So please make sure that you're checking in on one another, because you matter. You matter. So if you're interested in hosting a commercial on Texas Fully Loaded, please let us know. We would love to make your dream a reality. And guess who said that, hey, we want to be a part of Texas Fully Loaded? Mammoth Nation did. So we are now a part of the Mammoth Nation family. Please make sure that when you go to Mammoth Nation, you go mammothNation.com/#WeThePeopleWork. Okay, you see it? You see it right here? See it right there? You got to type that in. And then you got to sign up now, because you want to make sure that we all get the benefits, right? You get to join this amazing group and have exclusiveness to some of your favorite products. All of the products that are here on Mammoth Nation are American companies, and they're made in America. So you want to make sure that you're a part of that. There's lots of stuff, even for Fido. There's even stuff for Fido. I know, look, if you forgot to get something for Mother's Day, you can still get something for your mom. Father's Day is next month. So make sure that you go to mammothNation.com/#WeThePeopleWork, because that's what we do. And so do they. And then also you can go to TexasFullyLoaded.com. Click on #WeThePeopleWork. You can go to Cash App, PayPal, and Venmo at Texas Fully Loaded. Walter, gosh darn it, you bacon loving freak. What are you doing? I needed to come up with something. I didn't know what else to say. I didn't know what to do with my hands. Are you mocking me now?
I am. Totally mocking me.
You're really funny, pal. So I know you're going to have to go in just a couple of minutes, but before you do, so our mayor in Laredo kind of started a sweeping thing where he declared a disaster, I guess, ahead of Title 42 ending. And he's kind of laying it out. He's like, look, this is not a Republican or a Democrat problem. This is an American problem. And he was on Face the Nation last night. So I thought that was kind of cool. But, this is something that I have been saying for the last 4 years, and I screamed it loud and long last time I ran, was we have the problem where people in Washington, D.C. say, hey, we know what is best for you down there, even though we've never been there and we're not getting all of the information. Walter, we experienced this firsthand where people were coming from Washington, D.C. or have come from other parts of the nation. We've shown them the border and they're like, oh, wow, this is not even close to what we were told. Like, this is either way worse, or we were told this, not that. And here we are. And here's Mayor Trevino saying, hey, you can't tell us how to handle this problem when you're not here. We're not getting the brunt of things down here in Laredo, which is what I had been telling you guys. Of course, Brownsville and McAllen, like that area, they're getting just crapped all over. El Paso's getting it pretty bad. And El Paso even actually put out a health statement because of the influx of people that are coming across saying, hey, here's some health concerns that you need to be worried about. And they're like, hey, the people of El Paso are like, this isn't even everything. This is just what they're telling us about. On here, it specifically made the statement about like scabies and chlamydia, I think was on here. chicken pox, TBs, STIs, all sorts of just lovely things, because this is what happens when you have people just flooding into your nation. Walt, what say you?
So actually, while we were in El Paso, me and Sheriff Capers from San Jacinto County, we got to go look at things around. Mark Morgan, Tom Homan, some of those big star powers from the Trump administration were there. And keep in mind, Mark Morgan was first inducted under President Obama, a former FBI into CBP. So he served under two presidents, and obviously he picked the latter because to roll with because of the things that he had done. So what we noticed while we were down there is, people were leaning up against a tree so they could take a dump on the street. You had old people that lived in these apartments. There's clothing all over the place, so they can't even use their walkers or their wheelchairs to get out. Now, they kept the downtown area pretty clean because they wanted to make sure that the people visiting, do what is needed. But then they line up like 40-something porta potties along one street. They put blockers up, and then they have cops out there making sure that people aren't breaking into fights. So the whole thing about people aren't getting across illegally or whatever, that wasn't the case at all. They were dumping people out on the streets. The NGOs that are local, not all those non-governmental organizations, not all those nonprofits are getting federal money. So, but they are giving out the assistance. So the people that are local that can't afford a slice of bread, now their bread is being given to somebody else who traveled and trekked for days and months on end. And while that's a problem, and that's, for those people, I totally respect that. This is where being a patriot actually comes in. So I want to kind of flip on that and show, hey, people were coming in, they did have scabies, or they do have scabies. They have chicken pox. And then you have these folks that can't step outside of their own home because they're afraid of the people that are sitting outside of their own home, that the El Paso police are trying to keep in line. They're trying to keep them in the bad part of town because those are the people that don't speak up a lot. Those are the ones that they trade a taco for their vote. Those are the ones that get paid for their vote because that's just, that's been a part of the system for years. The elites just kind of, feed off of them. What you need to look at the fact is the people coming to America, those are the people that never fought for their own country. They quit their country. So now we have unpatriotic people that are coming here pushing their country's agenda because their country failed. Their country kicked them out. And keep in mind, we don't have the cream of the crop. We do have rapists that are coming here. There are countries that are physically sending their most violent here. We've seen it firsthand. 5-6 miles from my house, we've seen it firsthand. And we see it over and over again, 5-6 miles from my house, which is 300 miles in from the border. This is going on in border communities. We've had agents that have been killed. The whole Angel family movement has been brought about because of people that couldn't just commit crimes in their own country. They had to come to ours, and they had to kill our people. And they want to take the benefits of some of our freedoms so that they can do what they need for them to survive or for them to prevail. But yet in their former countries that they're leaving, these are people that are essentially cowards. These are people that could not ask for the proper help from the American people. Whereas also this is a problem that's been propagated by the American politician. Let's just throw money at this situation. And this goes back Republican and Democrat administration alone. They give the money out to non-governmental organizations, and those people corrupt the system. And so the people in those countries that are the corrupt ones, those are the ones that get to see the money. The ones that are downtrodden, those are the ones that come here. And we have people that are physically coming here because they want a better life, they believe in a better life. And then we have others that have said, you know what, I'm giving up on my country, I'm going there for a better life. But the problem is they're not going to assimilate and make America great, period. They're going to be a part of the problem. And you saw it whenever our good friend Osvaldo, whenever he finally got his citizenship, we sat there in front of that courthouse. It was the funniest sight for me to ever. It was the biggest moment in my life where I just went, wow. these people that could barely speak English. They were so proud to become American citizens, and they sat on the courthouse lawn across the street. So as I sat across the street from the courthouse, and I watched the no border wall on the defund the wall.
Defund the wall, yeah.
On physically on the street in front of the federal courthouse, where people were so happy that they finally became American citizens. That's got to be one of the dumbest realizations I've had in my entire life, where the folks that should be the ones saying, "Oh, no wall, we want to come," were literally saying, "We did it right, we got here." And yet we have American citizens that are like, "Oh, the wall is racist." Really? Mm-hmm. The wall is protecting you, because at some point in time, there's going to be bad people that come across there, and they're going to start taking out the left. Right now, they're just feeding off the left, and that's what the left is doing. The right, they've been coming after us for years. We're fighting. Unfortunately, we're fighting our own. Eventually, we're going to have to fight invaders. And remember, America has not been invaded for quite some time. And when it comes to Mexico, America is the one who actually created the first Fast and Furious in the 1800s. And what did we do? We gave the Mexicans firearms so they could run the French off. The French were literally after the Mexicans.
Well, and I kind of had to laugh this morning because, and I'm glad it. Sometimes some of these apps, they close the news story out after you read it. But there was one, and it says Joe Biden's worst nightmare comes true at the border, and I'm like, oh, let's click on this. This sounds good. So now they're like, it's been confirmed, Walter. I hope you're sitting down, pal. It's been confirmed that Afghan nationals on the U.S. terror watch list were being apprehended when they were coming through our border illegally.
Well, and keep in mind, not all of them got caught.
That's a bingo. Now, why were they coming through our? What? I don't understand. If they were on the terrorist watch list, I don't understand why they feel like they should be sneaking into our country and why we should be letting them.
Well, they just want to apply for benefits and groceries. Remember?
That's all they. Hey, they're people. They have rights.
No, they're here to kill you. They're here to take your children. And here's the best part: some of those terrorists, they're not into this transgender stuff. Remember, they were throwing gay dudes off of buildings 4 stories high overseas.
They're beheading them.
They're
literally like cutting off their genitalia in places that they know is going to hit an artery so that they can bleed out in the middle of the roads. But hey.
So hang on. So that people can see it. See it. This isn't just done with a video camera sitting off in the middle of a room with 5 or 6 people. This is hundreds and thousands of people in a street watching public executions, because that's still a thing over there.
And it's wildly accepted there. And so when you have these psychopaths who say we need to have Sharia law here in the United States of America, they're not. These are the same morons, Squawk, I'm talking to you, who are over here promoting and saying, "Oh, love is love. We need to love everybody." Do you know what you're actually advocating for? They are pushing this agenda. Here is a Texas Fully Loaded prediction. Are you ready? The Squawk is pushing this agenda so that when their Sharia law people come in here, that they can mass murder Americans. They want them noted. They want to know who they are, so that when they get to fulfill what they're hoping is going to happen, they can just mass execute every single one of these people. You heard it here first, folks. Tell me I'm wrong. Not just tell me I'm wrong. Prove that I'm wrong. Prove that I'm wrong.
It's here. It's coming. And, just remember who said what, who voted which way, because when it comes time to take someone's groceries, I'm hoping you'll know whose groceries to start with.
There's a kind of a joke that gets put up all the time, but it's not really a joke. And it says, hey, if you voted for Biden Harris, please put your yard signs back up. I know it's not election season, but we need to know who to send them to. Absolutely, we do. Absolutely, we do. Mimi, I'm glad that you sent me these really quick, because go to the Jackwagon Cars Facebook page and you'll see all the cheese the chisme on that post. Even locals from the sheriff's office are posting. I'll go to his post really quick. These are people that are being caught in our area that are, this guy is a convicted sex offender, and he's being in the country illegally by Border Patrol. This guy is a Mexican mafia gang member who was arrested for being in the country illegally by the Border Patrol. I mean, if you guys remember the numbers that I was throwing out, and these are going to be numbers from last year, we had a 900% increase in violent offenders that were coming across the Laredo sector border. 900% increase in violent offenders. This was last year's numbers. I can only imagine what they're looking like right now. I doubt they've gone down. One of the things that Mayor Trevino said in his interview with Meet the Press is that although our numbers are not what they expected them to be, we're not going to falter on what's actually happening down here, because we are receiving busloads. They received 700 in Laredo this week from El Paso and Brownsville, because they are being overwhelmed, especially in Brownsville and not Hebbronville, Brownsville and Hidalgo County. They're just overwhelmed. They received, I think, 7,500 people, and then we received, and I did vet it out. Now, of course, I won't be able to find it. There is an app that is actually being used, Walter, to that is allowing the people in Mexico to communicate with our government to know when to send people over illegally. I did actually get that. See, it's happening. I found it.
I'll actually be on. I'll actually be on Stu Peters, and I believe this evening, or maybe it's tomorrow. But we're fixing to film our segment where we're physically discussing that app, which is a complete and total true story. That our government officials within the Department of Homeland Security are committing treason at this point in time. So again, the state of Texas right now, for what's going on in Texas, is our last hope. I don't care what's going on in California. I don't care what's going on in New Mexico, Arizona. I got a lot of friends there. I love you to death. But, right now we got a governor that's standing up, and it's time to make sure that we continue to strengthen his legs while he's out there. And that's not a pun on his on his handicap or anything else like that. But he needs to know the people are behind him, and he needs to make sure that he's directed properly. And that's what needs to physically be happening. So, it's really happening. I know that you have to go. I appreciate you being on, Walt, because I know you got to get ready for your big interview. I know, your big stuff over here. You know what? Before you go, do you know what your TikTok is sitting at, by the way? No. What's that?
I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you right now. You're at I can't even believe I'm fixing to say these words out loud. You're at 236,000 views on your TikTok video over here.
Wait until you see it whenever I actually walk into the immigration center, the illegal immigration center, and I talk everyone into doing the Macarena. We actually do a video, and it's very cute and it's very funny. And I'm wearing a sombrero when I do it, and it's one of those things that it just upsets people to no end. But we're fixing to drop that one in there, and on that one right there, I'm actually going to have a sponsorship from Coca-Cola is going to be paying for that whole entire ad right there.
Well, anyway,
what I like
just
about,
remember, we knew you win, Walter. We knew you win.
What I like about TikTok, and I know everyone says, "Oh, it's the Chinese coming after you." Well, I have it on a device that's not connected to anything, and then I download it, so it's there. But you know what? Facebook doesn't like TikTok because they're competition, and neither does YouTube. But here we are.
A lot of your other videos have gone up significantly, also. By the way, so good for you, buddy boy.
Yeah, well, that's the price we pay for being such a cool social media influencer. I was talking with Charlie Kirk the other day, and we were going back and forth on how we could do things with Tucker Carlson, and he was, of course, in on the call, and they've been asking me for mentorship and things like that. Yeah,
you're such a giver, Walter.
Yeah, I'm such a giver, but no, seriously, Man, that's the last thing I wanted.
Giver of migraines.
Yeah, exactly. Migraines and not migrants, but migraines.
Yes,
So.
not migrants.
Well, Miss Sandra, it's been a pleasure. I hope all is in your future is
in my future. I'll call you. Call me after you're done with stupid
peaceful.
story.
You know, call me. Let us know what we can do for you. We'd love to support your next momentum in life. Things like that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the support. I assure you. Bye, Payne. Could he be more annoying, please? Anyway, we love Walter. Yeah, and tons of belly laughs. He definitely gives tons of those too. No, we're not done yet, Charlotte. Just a few more minutes. Is that okay? Like 15 more minutes? 15 more minutes on the show. Is that okay? Oh, she's going to come whisper in my ear, y'all. So sorry. Well, he's a hoot, Miss Patty. I don't know what she thinks she's doing, though. What? Can you be on the show? Okay. Say, hey, y'all. Oh, don't do this. Okay. So, all right. I did have a couple more things that I needed to pull up for you guys. Deep breaths. Okay. Where are we at, Charlotte? What was next on our agenda for the show today?
I know.
What is it? Everyone saying hi, Charlotte. Look, we're going to see Miss Patty in just a little bit.
Okay.
Okay. Can you tell everybody where we're going to be at tonight? Do you remember?
Party.
At the tea party. Where's the tea party at? Do you know?
No. This is go. 6:30.
Okay, y'all heard it right from Charlotte. Are you going to be signing autographs?
Yeah.
Yeah, she'll be signing autographs. So y'all be there. It's a very exclusive time. Very exclusive. Yeah? Okay. We'll have to have an extra detailed security around for Miss Charlotte being there today. I want to touch really quick. So there is a Miss Suzanne says hi too. There is a story that's going around about George Santos, and you know that I'm really quick to throw that fool under the bus, but I always vet it out before we do it. So there is and it's Republicans that are doing it, which is even stupider. They're trying to say that now he suffered a massive heart attack. I have been looking for the last several hours since that tweet has come about, and it's bogus. That nothing has been able to confirm that out. Just as an FYI, just so you guys know, if you see it, it's just propaganda. It's nonsense. I have not seen anything that supports that that garbage, because that's what it is. It's garbage, isn't it, Charlotte? So I did have some more news stories pulled up, but now I don't know where they're at. There was another news story that I know what it was. Y'all are gonna love this one, and I'm kind of low key sad that Walter is not here for this, because this is hysterical. Oops. Well, if I can spell. Joe Biden got an honorary. He got an honorary doctorate this weekend at Howard University. You guys have got to see this. This is hysterical. I know. So y'all need to know this. So after Walter and I had the explosion on the air, like I called him, I was hot. I was a hot potato in Charlotte, but he's like, oh, I forgot to tell you. Anyway, so then fast forward, Charlotte came up and she gave me the biggest hug, didn't you? Because you're like, it's okay, mommy. She's a sweetheart. Okay, so now back to Joe Biden. Now, this was hysterical. So I watched, as you guys know, I watched the Democrat news channels like Fox News because I need to know what they're trying to do here. And this was pretty good. This was good. So Howard University gave Joe Biden an honorary doctorate degree for his analytical intellect and popularity on both sides. Okay. So Dr. Wayne Frederick is the president of Howard University. And in his statement before he as he was talking to Biden, he says that you're admired for your sound analytical intellect and open embrace for all. Your popularity on both sides of the aisle of the United States led to your illustrious reputation and outstanding service of 36 years as a Democrat senator from Delaware, beginning at a tender age of 29. I'm sorry. Does anybody remember the Joe Biden who was talking about how? Does anybody remember the Joe Biden who was talking about how he was absolutely against? I played a clip on the air last week about how he was absolutely against marriages between anything other than a man and a woman, and he was fighting to protect that. And now, just a short time later, like a decade later, maybe two, I guess about 2 decades later now, he's over here screaming that if you're not for the LGBTQ plus community, then you're a terrible person. Or better yet, about how he specifically was going after Black people for most of his career and trying to incarcerate them and blame them for everything. And now, if you vote for Joe, if you vote for Donald Trump, then you ain't Black. I mean, let's talk about how hypocritical and how flip-floppy and wishy-washy he is. When we were teasing earlier, I was talking to Mike. Y'all remember Mike? We were talking about Joe Biden, that sometimes you get him in a rare moment where he's himself again. Oh, yeah, look at this pretty pillow. Where you get him, when you get the original Joe Biden back, and he kind of sounds like he makes sense. It's once he gets... once his handlers get a hold of him, that he reverts back to not knowing what the hell he's talking about all the time. But Charlotte, please go put that pillow back, baby. That's okay. I don't like that pillow on this back. Anyway, so yeah, people are absolutely just being hysterical about this tweet, or about him getting this doctorate, about what was said. I mean, Howard University really doesn't have a... I don't know. I've never really seen where Howard University was something that was very well respected. I'm not trying to say anything negative. If you've gone to Howard University, it's not, in my opinion, ever been one of the top-notch ranked schools or anything along those lines. I don't know what backdoor jackwagon deal was made for Joe Biden to get an honorary doctorate from them, or why in the world they were like, you know what? He is actually the worst person on the planet. Let's make sure that he is the center. Okay. Please go put it in the trash can quietly. Hey, careful. Why they decided to make that clown the center of the 155th commencement of their school. But here they are, rocking it. It just seems like this is a bad decision, doing all these honorary doctorates and honorary degrees and things along those lines. If this is the case, I would also like to nominate myself. I'm going to pull a Brian Christ here and ask for a me award. I think I've been fighting pretty well, so I deserve one. It doesn't really matter in what, but I also should get a doctorate from some off the wall college. So if you're looking to just bestow an honorary doctorate on somebody, I'm at least not a babbling fool who goes wishy-washy, unlike Joe Biden. So there was that. So I thought that was fun. And things you didn't expect to see in the news today, that was certainly one of them. And I did get a good laugh about it. I hope you guys did also. I don't want you guys to forget, we do have the rally is going to be happening on May 18th in Plainview. And so if you guys can be there, we are strongly encouraging and requesting that you can be in Plainview, because we need people who can stand up. We need people who are not afraid. We need people who are willing to do what's right for the little guys. This is important. This is not just about one story, okay? As much as this is 100% been sparked because of what happened to this little girl, and honestly to the little boys as well. This is not just about that. This is 100% about a school's a school board, a school, a principal, about every grown-up that has swept this under the rug. We hear about stories of other school boards or other schools where there has been stuff that has happened that is not okay, right? But the difference is they have stopped it. They have made sure. Oh, well, I'm trying to pull up the freaking flyer for it that is happening this week, and of course, anyway, they've stopped it. The grown-ups have stepped in, whether it was good, bad, or ugly, and they ended it. Right? They didn't sweep it under the rug. They didn't say, "Oh, well, it was consensual, so here we are." No, they've ended it. They've stopped it, and they've said enough is enough. We do have bad actors in other schools and in other school boards, and sometimes it just takes one. When I was texting back and forth with the mom, one of the moms that I've been speaking to up there, let me pull this back up. She said, "I'm so grateful that the little girl's family stood up. I'm glad that they came out." She said, "I'm so grateful that they came out." And I said, absolutely. It starts with one person having courage. It starts with one person having courage. And I don't know if Heather shared this on the show Friday when we had her on or not, but she made the statement. She said, our family has really kind of taken a lot of heat. I had to delete my apps for social media because it was just becoming overwhelming, and like the hate, there's a lot of praise, but there's a lot of hate. And I remember when I was running for office, especially the first time, there was once or twice where I was specifically called and said, "Do not touch your phone. Don't look at your social media. We're having to do some damage control because there's some people out there being just crappy." And I took it for exactly what they told me, because there was one time that somebody came after me and it was stupid, and I shot back. It was never used against me, but it was stupid. And the reality is that people will always attack people for doing the right thing. Nobody ever gets attacked for doing the wrong thing anymore. And that's exactly the problem that we're facing in this country. That's exactly where the problem is. People are being attacked for standing up for the right thing. We got to stop that, guys. You want to talk about mental health week. You want to talk about making sure, and I did it right here on the show, because we do have to show kindness to one another. We do have to show love to one another. We don't know what somebody else is going through, right? But that all starts with being real with people too. Like not being a jerk, not being berating, not being, don't make somebody cry just because you can be a bully about it. But you do have to be real with people. You can't sugarcoat everything. Sugarcoating is what got us into this problem that we're in right now. Okay? So quit sugarcoating it. I'm not, I saw a meme before. It says, "I'm not Willy Wonka. I don't sugarcoat this." Guess what? We aren't Willy Wonka around here either. We're not going to sugarcoat anything. We're going to be real. We're going to be honest, but we're not going to berate one another. We're not going to be jerks about it. And that's the problem. If you've listened to what's happening, I'm going to pick on Plainview. Walter, picking on does not necessarily mean being mean to, just as an FYI. I'm going to pick on Plainview for a second. Even the victim's family, the little girl's family, is saying, "Hey, it's not just our little girl that is a victim here. These boys are a victim here." And the school board and the school covering this up, that's not helping this little boy. We have to have accountability. We have to stand up for one another. We have to do what's right for one another. That's where we've got to stand up and stand together. I'm proud that we're going to Plainview. I'm super honored that we're going to be there and help to give a voice to these families, to these children. Because these grown-ups that have been in charge, they're absolutely to blame for this. Whether there are the nasty books in those schools or not, those books, that gateway conversation, that is absolutely to blame for what is happening. People want to talk about marijuana as a gateway drug, and they don't want to have the full conversation about it. You want to know what a real gateway to a bigger problem than drugs is? this sexualization of our children, which, guess what? That does lead to a real war on drugs. Do you know why? Because when these children have been sexually exploited at such a young age and they don't know how to feel anymore, guess what they start turning to? They don't turn to marijuana, folks. If you've watched recently, there's been a huge outcry about what's happening in San Francisco and about the drug use and the fentanyl use and things like that. And there was a homeless lady, Laura Ingram had her on when she was down there interviewing. And the homeless lady said, I'm using fentanyl. I know what the risk is, but it's the only thing that makes me feel. It's the only thing that makes me be able to sort things out. That's painful to hear, but that's the reality of what's happening in our country right now. And as long as we allow the sexualization and the sexual exploitation of our children, it is a guarantee they will end up in these situations because they have been exploited and abused by the people who are supposed to be protecting them. You want to talk about a gateway? Sexualizing and exploiting children is a gateway to the worst unforeseeable future. But the problem is that it can be stopped, but only if the grown-ups have the balls to stand up and stop it. We're out of time. I hope that I can see you guys tonight in Montgomery County at the Tea Party in Conroe at 6:30. And if not, we'll see you tomorrow, and you can watch it here on TexasFullyLoaded.com on our YouTube page and the Montgomery County Tea Party's Facebook page. We love you guys. We appreciate the support. Please don't forget to like, follow, share, comment, and support Texas Fully Loaded. See you guys tomorrow. Bye, y'all.